Hello everyone, this is international chess player and a chess coach Atul Dahale. Welcome all of you to my incredible chess channel. Well, this is the name which I really like, and very good morning to many of my Indian chess friends who are watching this video. And just to be honest, this is morning 5:45 for me. I was actually studying chess in the morning time. I was reading this book, The Most Instructive Games of Chess Ever Played, and it is written by a very legendary author, guys, Erwin Chernev. And there are 62 masterpieces of chess strategy annotated in this game. So if you want to build up your chess understanding related to the classical games, or if you want to just improve your positional chess, then this is the book for you. Okay, so what happened is, like, in the morning time I was thinking like, okay, what to study today. So I thought like, okay, I can start with the classical game, and I started with the one game which is a very interesting game, that is the 19th game. And the title of this game is also very interesting. It is related to the seesaw, okay, checks and zugzwang and the other tactical tricks. So guys, there will be plenty of interesting factors in the game which we are going to see. And what is really seesaw on the chessboard, what is really the zugzwang which will be there on the chessboard. And in the end I will tell you one secret, that okay, that did not happen on the board, but there was a mate in 10, and it was very beautiful tactical idea in the end game. So guys, just stay tuned with me till the end and enjoy this beautiful game. This can be an interesting game also, entertainment also, or maybe it can be a very instructive game for all of you. So in this game, white was Kufferstich and Anderson was black in this position. This was played in Denmark 1953. White started with e4. And one more thing, okay, before we go further, if you like this video, then don't forget to, if you like this game, don't forget to like this video, share this video with your friends, and the red button which is there down, if you are new here, then don't forget to click that button and give lots of love to this channel. Okay, so we go further. So e5 is played, then knight c3, Vienna game, knight to f6, bishop comes to c4 square. Okay, very natural square, knight captures on e4. Obviously here black wants to get some advantage in the center of the board. If you capture knight into e4, which is actually not the best move, okay, then d5 will be played, and after d5, okay, we can play bishop into d5, bishop d3, whatever it is. Black will be getting pleasant position, that's what I will say. So maybe this is one of the reason why white did not capture on e4, and white went on to play queen to h5. Now this queen is actually attacking on f7 as well as e5, but the most important thing is queen into f7 check and mate. So black defended this thing with knight d6. Okay, so pawn on f7 is defended. Now what to do? Well, here bishop on c4 is also being attacked, so he goes for bishop to b3, and now knight c6, and now white wants to checkmate his opponent. Okay, so he plays knight b5. The threat is very simple. The threat is to capture on d6 followed by bishop queen into f7 is a check and mate. Okay, so here black plays g6, stopping this threat. Then white says like, okay, you are stopping one threat, I'm going to threaten you once again with the next move, that is queen to f3. Now again the threat is knight into d6, you need to capture this thing, and then queen into f7 will be a check and mate. So black says like, okay, what to do? I need to defend against the threat, right? So he plays knight to f5. But one more incident which I want to talk about this thing is like, here in this position, Alexander, very nice good player, okay, he suggested that maybe in this position f5 was an interesting option. Here black will be under a little bit pressure, but if he is brave, okay, then he can play queen to f6. Okay, the idea is, if you capture on c7 check, king will go to d8 square, knight will capture on a8. But the thing is that after sacrificing the rook, black will be getting a little bit more play in the center of the board. That's one thing. And another thing is like, okay, you can play b6, followed by this bishop will be coming here, and the knight will be gone. And one more thing is that, as I already mentioned, the center is good, the knights are good, the bishop will be on a good diagonal, this bishop is also kind of good. So black will definitely get some good attacking possibilities. Okay, but you need to be brave to give up the pawn as well as exchange. So black plays knight to f5, And white is very persistent. White goes for queen to d5. He's saying like, okay, I'm not going to settle down, I'm going to checkmate you no matter what. So black finally says like, okay, I'm going to defend that thing. Knight h6. Now the pawn on f7 is defended. So white is very persistent. He again goes for d4. His idea is to capture on h6, and then queen into f7 is a check and mate. So black plays d6. Okay, he's also planning something. Okay, black is going to play bishop to e6 and stopping the check and mate. So white captures bishop into h6. Bishop e6 is almost forced. Obviously we cannot capture bishop h6. Queen f7 checkmate is there. Bishop e6 is played, and now he goes back with queen to f3. Okay, so he plays bishop into b3, and now what to do? Are you going to capture the bishop on b3, or are you going to capture the bishop on f8? Well, the correct way is to bishop into f8, and now black says like, okay, I'm going to attack your knight. Now if you move your bishop, then bishop into b5 is going to come, but black said like, okay, I have a very clever idea on the board. I'm going to play bishop to g7, attack your rook, and then if it's needed, I'm going to move my knight. Okay, so he plays rook g8, which was actually not that great move. Maybe here bishop into b5 was a better choice, because if you capture here, then okay, you have saved something, and the queen can also move, the king can. Okay, this is just a normal position, I'll say, but black should have gone for something like that. So rook g8 was played, and then he played bishop f6, attacking the queen. Queen moves to d7 square, and now he goes knight to a3. Now black plays knight into d4, attacking the queen as well as the pawn on c2, and here the real fun begins now. Okay, here he plays queen to h3, offering queen exchange. Black says like, okay man, you are attacking since long time, I'm going to exchange the pieces, I'm going to exchange the queen. So he exchanges the queen, then knight into h3 is played. Black thinks like, okay, I'm going to capture some of the pieces. Like here, if you calculate 1 2 3 4 and 5 pieces are there from the white side. Black is having only 4 pieces, so black is pieced down in this position. Okay, if you are not understood like how did black lose the piece, then go back a little bit and check it out. Okay guys, so here knight into c2, he is saying like, okay, I'm going to capture some of the pawns. He plays knight into c2, knight into c2, bishop into c2, but here white was very clever. He plays rook to c1, attacking the bishop. Bishop needs to move somewhere, so bishop goes to e4 square, and now the pawn on g2 is being attacked, right? So any normal person who is a little bit sane person, I'll say, he will protect the pawn on g7. Maybe he will castle something like that, and he will say like, okay, I'm fine. But black will get a lot of activity, means lot of play also after bishop c6, a very good defensive move. His next move is to play king d7, and I will say like he will be having good play. Maybe he'll play h6 and king e6 will be played, and the rooks are coming in the game, so black should be fine. Okay, so that's the thing, because he has 3 pawns for the piece, he is not at all bad. But here white was in a mood to just attack, so he plays knight g5, attacking the bishop. Bishop captures the pawn on g2. Now what to do? Are you going to save the rook, or are you going to sacrifice? Well, when I was looking at this game, I thought like, okay, this is not the way I'm going to play. That rook g1, definitely not my style, because I'll play bishop c6 and then knight into h7, and again the variation which I talked about, king d7, and black will survive, right? So you have to play something tricky, and we know this thing from many of the games, especially one of the game which I have also annotated, that rook on the 7th rank is something exceptionally best piece on the board. So he goes for rook into c7, and he's offering the rook. Okay, he gives back the rook, because now also white is just action down and some few pawns. Okay, but the king is stuck in the center of the board. So white says like, okay, I'm going to capture knight into f7. The idea is quite clear. The knight into d6, if you play any random move, let's suppose I play this move, knight into d6 check, king will come here, and rook f7 is a threat. Check and mate. Okay, so you need to defend against that threat. Black plays bishop to d5, now knight into d6 check, king f8, and now here in this position, guys, please stop this video, pause this video, and think, what will you play? Because the next move which white played is really difficult, because I was not able to find out this move very easily. Here white played bishop to g5. Okay, bishop e7 check is a very natural move which you can play, but bishop g5 has something interesting in the mind. Okay, here black played rook h8, which looks like the first move in this position, because any other move is going to be a check and mate. Bishop h6, and okay, you will definitely lose the rook or something. So black says like, okay, I'm going to save my rook, but that rook never really came in the game. Till the end it was just gone. So bishop h6 check, king g8, and now the seesaw thing which I talked about in the starting starts happening on the board. So he gives rook g7 check, king f8, and now he says, okay, he plays rook c7, again one vestige of move I'll say, and now he plays knight to c8. Okay, this was not necessary. To be honest, this was not necessary. He could have captured the pawn on b7 also, and then a7 also. All those pawns can be captured here just like the seesaw. He must go here, then again give the check, come back and again capture here. This was a possibility, but white plays a little bit slow thing. He plays knight to c8 in this position. Black plays bishop f3. Bishop c6 was also there, and now finally he goes for seesaw thing. Rook g7 check, king h8, he captures the pawn, again goes back. Okay, you cannot play king e8. One more thing, because knight d6 check will come, king d8, and then bishop g7 will lead to a check and mate. Okay, so you cannot really play that thing. After rook b7, king g8, and then again a check, king f8, tick tock thing is going on. So king g8, and now finally he captures the rook. What on earth is going on? He is just going to give up the thing, but white had a very beautiful idea in this position. The thing is that knight d6, and after knight d6, if I say that okay, this is going to be a forced check and mate, you will be blown up, right? The thing is that black cannot play this rook, the king cannot play. It is, black is completely stalemated. Okay, it cannot do anything. Even if the pawn rides forward in this position, nothing really happens. Pawn g7 will come, and then pawn will come on g3 and will just capture. The bishop is like the just ghost rider on the board. It is like Bhatakti Atma or something like that, you can say. It will just move around on the light squares, and it cannot even touch any of the white span. Okay, maybe the pawn on a2 will be touched, but we can give up the pawn, right? And I'll show you one very interesting plan here. White can actually go for the checkmate just by playing king d2, king c3, no matter what black is going to do. White is just going to play king b4, king c5, king b6. He will travel only on the dark squares, okay? As if he touches the light square, he is going to die. He'll play king d8 and king e7. After reaching king to the e7 square, the king cannot go anywhere, correct? And the knight's duty is done. So knight will travel to e8, followed by knight will come to f6 square, all on the dark squares, okay? And this will be a check and mate. Okay, if black tries to defend the e8 square, then maybe we can play something else also, but he means we can deflect it by playing b4, b5. For example, I'll show you. The game was over here. Black said like, okay, I resign, and the game was over. But just for the sake of the beauty of the variation, I'll show you. He will capture. White will say like, okay, you want to do anything, you do it, and I'll just keep on playing like this. And it's like the thing, okay, the thing is going on, king e7, finally you reach there, and okay, you can play bishop c6, but as I said, like b4, b5 will be played here, and you need to leave some of the squares. So if you play bishop d5, then knight e8, and even if you play anything, I'm not going to do anything. Knight f6 is a check and mate. So guys, this was a very beautiful game which I looked at in the morning time. I hope that this game you also enjoyed, and it made some smile on your face. The way it made me very happy. And do like this video, share this video with your friends, make them happy also. And if you have any questions or something, do write it down in the comment section, guys. And I will be very happy if you appreciate this video, if you click on the red button, if you share some love with me, and subscribe to my channel. We'll be meeting very soon with some interesting video. Till then, goodbye, take care, and sayonara.